Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in Phoenix, Arizona, it's time for Phoenix Business Radio, spotlighting the city's best businesses and the people who lead them.
Hello and welcome to Phoenix Business Radio, broadcasting live from the Max 6 Entrepreneurial Center right here in Tempe, Arizona, where we help build businesses and connect you with the right people. I'm very pleased to have an opportunity today to introduce you to the Executive Director and Founder at Hushabye Nursery, Tara Sundem. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I can tell we're going to have a great conversation.
We will.
We've only had about 10 minutes before we got live, and I want to thank Tara and her team for being flexible with me today to adjust the time, so thank you for that.
Absolutely.
And I am very excited to learn all about your organization and how you're serving our community. Let's just have you begin by telling us who Hushabye Nursery is, and then I'm sure there's plenty more questions that we can navigate after that.
Yeah, we are a nonprofit that our mission is really to serve pregnant and parenting families that are struggling or have been impacted by the opioid crisis. And in those families are serving their babies that have been born substance exposed to go through the withdrawal process that's really hard. And we have a 12-bed nursery just north of Sky Harbor, where we have these little ones come to us where they get the gold standard of care in a quiet, dark environment with one-to-one caregivers to make that withdrawal process go a little bit easier. One mom explained to me withdrawal is the worst flu and migraine times 100. We try to make that just a little bit easier for a new baby.
Okay, powerful introduction, and what a mission. How is it that this is something that you knew you needed to do and offer this world?
Yeah, I'm a neonatal nurse practitioner by real teaching, I guess. And in 2015, we started seeing more and more babies come into our neonatal intensive care units withdrawing. And back then, they were with us for, I would tell families, your baby's going to be here for a month, but maybe 2 or 3. And my longest baby was with us for 4 months. And 4 months being in the neonatal intensive care unit, bright lights, beeping monitors, just isn't the place for a big baby to thrive. And when I say big baby, neonatal intensive care units are designed to care for babies that are premature or babies that have respiratory issues or heart issues, not babies that are going through the withdrawal process. And out of being frustrated with not having enough hands to be able to care for these little ones, my co-founder and I thought, we got to do it better. Some days we could do it better when it wasn't busy in the NICU. Other days we would leave going, we didn't do a good job today. And that's where it came about. We got to make something better.
So what a unique model of care, right?
Yeah.
You mentioned the dark lights when you shared your introduction, and now in comparison to what it must be like to be in a NICU with everything happening and hustle and bustle. Gosh, I have so many questions. What else is unique about the environment that you provide? And then secondary to that, and I don't care which question you answer first, how do moms and parents find out about you?
Yeah. Unique between us and the neonatal intensive care unit is we understand that, yes, baby is our client, baby's our patient, but to really serve that baby, we have to heal the entire family. And so what we have different is we have medical, we're taking care of the baby medically, but we have behavioral health services all at the same location. So the parents don't have to leave their baby to get well in their recovery. And so if they're still actively struggling, they can be at their baby's bedside and I can have my therapist or my peer support be right there and them get the trauma-informed care that they need to feel safe and go, you know what? I need to get well for my baby. And so that, number one, how do families get to connect with us? Mostly, well, we just did statistics, so 25% are word of mouth. So someone will hear this, a mom has been through our program, we have a 99% satisfaction rating,
Wow.
From our families that would you recommend to someone that needed us? Yes. So we're getting that, but behavioral health facilities, organizations are probably our next big referral source. And then hospitals behind that, just really anyone hearing this today, talking about it to another person seems like the referrals keep coming because more people are impacted by the opioid crisis.
More and more. 12 cribs.
Yes.
Is that, and you mentioned mom or dad can be there, obviously, so that they are not separated from the baby and also have the support and care that they need to the degree that your team can do that. Are parents then allowed to stay overnight? How does that piece work?
Yep. We have 12 private rooms, which have a bassinet, a twin bed, but believe me, mom and dad both fit in that room. And we really believe moms are the best medicine, dads too. And so we want them to stay. Do they have to stay? Do we understand that the struggle's real and some of our families are still struggling? They don't have to stay. But I hope that, say those moms that are still struggling or those daddies that are still struggling, that maybe they come in, they take a nap, they get a shower, we treat them with dignity and respect. When they wake up, maybe one of my team will say the right thing at the right time that is different this time. And we get this mom or dad into treatment where they do succeed. And we see that every single day where, families are like, there's no way they're never, ever going to get well. Well, I've learned to never say never because I have living proof at Hushabye. I have 3 parents that that I met when they were unwell. And now they work for us and they share their story. And I mean, the one mama, we sent her to 5 different detoxes and now she works for us. Had we said she's not worth it, it's never going to happen, she wouldn't be raising her daughter and her other kids. I mean, she's thriving and helping other families. And so it's just the environment's safe. And families know that we're not going to judge them. Because I tell them, I'm like, this is the only population that I deal with. So if you think that you're not good enough to come in, this is all I do every single day. And it makes families go, okay, I can breathe. All right. And we just are able to break down barriers that way.
So while 12 bedrooms is great, clearly with the situation that we have when it comes to a crisis like this, do you have goals and what's your greatest hope for serving more families?
Yeah, our goals would be that we can really make the services be collaborative between the hospital systems, between Hushabye and all of the other great community partners that we work with, but making it that we could break down barriers for these families, meaning that a mom someday, we'll get to this point, but a mom finds out she's pregnant and she's struggling with opiates, so fentanyl, heroin, whatever, Percocet, that it will just be the gold standard of care that everybody goes, it's Hushabye. We're doing a referral to Hushabye, and we get that mom into treatment right away, that this is just what you do. What would be great would be then they go to deliver at the hospital feels comfortable that they go, okay, call Hushabye because we don't know how to deal with her. She's making us nervous. We're anxious. And we're able to help the hospital system work better, less stressful, help them be trauma informed and work together collaboratively to make it that it is just a seamless transition. That would be number 1. Number 2, probably different areas of Maricopa County, but even rural areas need Hushabye. We're doing our outpatient virtual services to all of Arizona. And boy, Northern Arizona has been on fire lately. Wow. Really, really, those moms, we're marketing right for some reason. They're really just asking for help. And we're able to serve them from afar, thank goodness, to internet.
The good news I'm hearing is that people are asking for help. If it's not the family specifically, it's the hospital or the care providers that are noticing that there's a need. And it sounds like most of the families are coming willingly.
Yeah.
And then I would think most everybody wants their baby and their child to survive and to thrive, and perhaps witnessing, and please correct me if I'm wrong, witnessing that success and that baby detoxing, if that's the right word, then they too will be inspired and motivated to heal themselves.
That's exactly it.
And then I can't help but wonder, you talked about this being the gold standard of care, that really is the goal for you and your team. Wouldn't it be amazing if across the country that there are units, Hushabye units in the hospitals
just last week I have San Diego, Maryland, and Montana reaching out going, okay, how do you do it? And I'm like, oh, it's still hard. We're still, trying to make things happen. But how do you make Hushabye in a box? How do you make it that other communities can get to where we're at and build those partnerships and those relationships? I would love to say that you go here and this is your next step. We're making it up as we're going, going, okay, well, now this person can help. I always tell everyone, I'm like, tell everybody about what you want to do. Just, they'll feel it in your heart and your passion, and it's what's right and what needs to be done. If it was our baby, our daughter or son that was struggling, we would want them to be connected.
Absolutely. This is the very opposite end of life, but my own personal experience is with my husband having been an addict, landed in the hospital after a suicide attempt. And after he survived trauma intensive care unit for a month, I was out of finances and out of resources and very limited to where I could go get help for him next, because it was layered. Detox, it was now brain injury, and all that. And there were very few resources. And so I just know personally from a very different perspective how important it is that we have the resources, we have the skill set, we have the environment in which someone is inspired to heal. And in this case, in the beginning of life, that a baby has a fighting chance.
Yeah. I love the environment to be inspired to heal, because that really is it. Addiction, substance use has such a stigma to it. And if you don't feel that you already, I believe that my families already feel hopeless. I know they're hopeless, but they feel bad enough about themselves.
Yeah.
And to have that environment where they can go, you do understand. Okay, I'm going to be vulnerable. I'm going to even be more vulnerable than what I am. And maybe you're going to make this happen. And that is, that environment is key.
Mm-hmm.
And when you talk to families, why was this different? How come it was different? And all of them will say is you didn't judge me. You just took me as I was. And when I, had we call it an oopsie, a lapse in recovery, when they have that, it's like, okay, so what happened?
Mm-hmm.
Is number one, where like, if they have baby, where's baby? Is baby safe? That's number one. But then number two, it's like, okay, so what happened? And obviously we didn't fill out our coping skills, everything. We're still working on those. But realizing that oopsies or relapse is really part of recovery.
Right.
I dumb it down to the point of it's like me on a diet. I always have
going
oopsies.
to the gym.
Oh, you're going to the gym and you have an oopsie and you're off for 3 weeks. And then it's like, okay, I got to get back.
Mm-hmm.
If we would make it that simple, people would not wait so long to get well.
We're talking about shame, being able to eliminate the shame from the equation.
Mm-hmm.
Even just when I love the comparison to, eating right, going to the gym. I even thought about parenting my kiddos. I've made promises to my children who are now 30, 28, and 17. I remember when my daughter, who's 28, I promised her I would never spank her again. And she was very young at the time. And I wasn't, rough, but I did spank way back when. Mm-hmm. And she was out of line again, and I spanked her, and then she turned around and looked at me, and it was like, you lied to me. And I had, right? And I lost my cool. It was an oopsie. Clearly, we've repaired that. I love that language around we make mistakes. Yeah. And to your point, it's part of recovery. We know, and I don't know the statistics, maybe like how long it takes or how many times somebody has to go through relapse or oopsie moments before they find what works for them.
Yeah, I can't tell you the most up to date. It used to be like 7 times that it took. It could be even more than that. But by the time I've connected with families, they've tried everything. Yep. And just one thing to bring up with a mom that is struggling with opiate use. She finds out she's pregnant, and I was the nurse that did look at moms and go, if you loved your baby, why didn't you just stop? I don't why did you not? I did not understand that, number one, it's risky. If a mom goes cold turkey while struggling with opiates, having a dependency on opiates, the risk of preterm delivery and miscarriage is very, very high.
I did not know
And
that.
so not the gold standard of care at all. We want to get them transitioned over to medications for opiate use disorder. So methadone, Suboxone, Subutex, those are the medications that we want to get them transitioned. Their babies are still going to withdraw off those medications. And so what's unfortunate is those medications have a stigma to them. And with someone that is a diabetic, say type 2 diabetic, so we don't eat great, we're not exercising, we're overweight, we have type 2 diabetes. And we go into the emergency room, our blood sugar's out of the roof, we're not coherent at all. In the emergency room in the hospital, we hospitalize you, we get you stable on insulin, because that's the gold standard of care. We do not say, we need you to exercise, diet, and lose weight before we give you insulin.
Right.
We're going to give you insulin, which is going to save your life. For someone with opiate use disorder, we say, go cold turkey, or, change your life, do all of these things. And we need to change that narrative. And we're getting a little bit better. But even those that struggle have a stigma against medications for opiate use disorder, because it's like, oh, no, I'll never be able to get off of those medications. And I always tell them, I'm like, but it's like insulin. Sometimes you're on it for the rest of your life, but you're going to be alive. Opiate use disorder, medications for opiate use disorder, methadone, Suboxone, you might be on for the rest of your life, but what if we get you the trauma therapy you need? We get you the coping skills. We do all of that really hard mental health work. Maybe you won't be on that medication for the rest of your life, but you're going to be able to parent successfully. You'll be able to work. You'll be healthy. So why is there that stigma? It's just because I believe that people that struggle with substance use are a little bit just too close to everyone. Everyone kind of goes, gosh, that could be me someday. And not that we say it out loud, but why do those people make us uncomfortable? And that's me being very, vulnerable, going, yeah, sometimes I'm like, ugh. When I was in the hospital, when I worked in the hospital, they weren't my favorite parents to work with. I loved the parents that looked like me, talk like me. Those were the ones that I made the connection. Now I love talking to my families that are, struggling or in their recovery journey, but it just is different for us. And as medical providers, we're not taught behavioral health. But if we would fix behavioral health, we wouldn't need to do so much medical.
Right. Amen. Yeah. But there's something to be said for bedside manner.
Yes.
Right. That's what we're talking about. Bedside manner. I think the new term is behavioral health and knowing how to, at a very decent, in a very decent way, meet somebody where they're at holistically.
Totally.
And I love your willingness to be raw and vulnerable, even in our conversation, to say that, you used to be that medical provider who judged. I'm curious, do you remember when you started thinking, oh my goodness, I think there's a real place for this, and could I be the one to do this, right? Especially because you it sounded like you grew up and you were trained in a traditional medical environment. Do you remember, was there an aha moment, or was it a series of conversations and experiences?
Yeah, it was a series of different things. I had 3 sets of parents come into the neonatal intensive care unit, probably, within 6-month time span. And 2 of them were in recovery. They were stable on methadone. Both of their babies were withdrawing from legal prescribed medication. And they both were upset, and they were like, you guys just want to keep our baby here. This is every time in the middle of the night, you guys give more medication to get them through. We're never going to leave. And I was like, no, that's not it. That, your baby really has, these are the issues that we're seeing. And so I hear from both of them, different times, made me kind of look back going, they're right. The baby is getting more medication in the middle of the night. And then not until the third mom and dad, who were an adoptive family that we had actually worked with a year prior, knew them, we fell in love with them, loved them, they're great parents. They were there adopting their sibling, a biological sibling, to their first baby.
Mm-hmm.
One night, Dad was frustrated and he goes, I'm not leaving tonight. And I was like, what do you mean you're not? What? And he's like, you're going to give him medication again and we're never going to leave. And, they have a 1-year-old. They're in a hotel. He was the nicest man, but he had it. And I was like, no, I promise I will call you. I'm on for a 24-hour shift. I will call you for sure and tell you if I'm going to need to give more medication. And he said, do not give any more medication. I will be there within 30 minutes. We're just down the hall or down the road. I'm like, I promise I'll call. And at 2:30 in the morning, I got a call from the nurse, and I went in and he had beads of sweat. For a baby to have beads of sweat, he had been crying for a long time. And he was doing that cry like that, like you can't catch your breath where a baby's cried for a long time. I'm going, okay, newborns don't do this. So how long had he been crying? So the nurse was saying we need another dose. And I was like, call that dad. He has 30 minutes. I tried to do all my little techniques that I've learned in caring for babies to get him settled, and then I couldn't. And I was afraid that he was going to have a seizure. And because that's the worst thing you could have for a baby that is withdrawing. And so I took him into my call room and totally not within the rules, but took him in my call room and made it completely black. I was practicing yoga a lot then, and I could feel myself just be so anxious. And I'm like, take a deep breath, Tara. And I did my deep breath, and he's screaming. And all of a sudden I did a deep breath and he stopped. And then he started crying again. And then I did another deep breath and I could feel myself like, okay, you're getting it together. And I interrupted his cry again. And after 3 deep breaths, I realized, oh my gosh, this is working. He's settling. And then I started doing some other little things. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is actually working. Well, the dad probably got there within 20 minutes, but it seemed like it was a long time. And when he knocked on the door, I had his baby asleep. Wow. And I was like, we can do it different ways. Had no idea that there was a different way. And then started doing it more and more. I'm like, okay, I'm not giving medication. Just a second. We're going to go in the hallway or in the closet. We're going to make it completely black. Let's see how this works. And it worked.
Wow.
Now you have to have the hands. You have to have that ability to regulate yourself as a caregiver and a determination. Because then it was like, oh no, I am going to not have to give medication. Let me see if I can get this baby settled by just giving them calmness. And it started to work. And that was baby aha. And the mommy aha was one day, again, me kind of blaming parents for this. But one day had a mom come into the neonatal intensive care unit. And when you come into the NICU, and any of NICUs, everybody has to wash their hands. And she's washing her hands, and her baby had seriously just fallen asleep. He had a really rough night. Mom's looking over her baby. She's smiling. She's so excited. And I didn't know which baby was hers. But the nurse looked at her and pointed and said, don't touch your baby. And I would love to say that wasn't so purposefully mean, but it was bad. And the mom tried to not cry. You could see tears in her eyes. She went and sat down by her baby. I went over and I'm like, what she meant was he just fell asleep. He's going to wake up. He's going to need you. Please sit here, whatever. She sat there and just sat there and looked at him, never touched him. And about 30 minutes later, I see her there again. I'm like, oh my gosh, he hasn't slept this good. He knows you're here. Thank you for being here. And she stayed for about another 30 minutes. And that day when she left, she never came back.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. And we as a medical community and I think everyone is on this earth to make a difference. And we had a point that we could have made a difference. She showed up. We didn't have the right words at the right time. And that was okay, things need to be better. Because if that was my daughter, I mean, if say it was my daughter that was struggling, and I'm a tough love. She's stolen from me. She's been dangerous when she's under the influence. But I would hope that she would meet somebody that would say the right thing at the right time. And she showed up for her baby. Mm-hmm. And we made her feel less than.
We're talking about dignity, right? And dignity and the lack of shame go hand in hand.
Yeah.
And that message, as you suggested, could have still been delivered so that mom was autonomous with that decision to let the baby sleep without feeling shameful or being shamed. That's how she delivered, or not. Well, I'm not saying that's necessarily how this nurse delivered it, but that's how the mom received it.
Absolutely.
And under the circumstances, it can be understood why. So I'm so grateful that you shared the backstory with those three families. Tell us how Hushabye Nursery is funded.
We are contracted with all of the 7 access plans. So greater than 95% of our clientele are on access. So we're reimbursed by them, but we're licensed because this has never been done anywhere in the country. So when we wanted to do what we were doing, we got access and ADHS and the city of Phoenix all in the same room and went, okay, so how do we make this work? How will we get reimbursed? What does that look like? Well, we're licensed as an adult detox because we're kind of a baby detox because there's no baby detox, but we're medicine also. And so what we get reimbursed for adult detox is it's less than 50% of what we need to be sustainable. So for my budget, I'm still about 55% fundraising.
Okay.
So, we write grants galore. Thank goodness for, state opioid response grants, settlement grants, all of those. We've been very, very blessed and have, the governor's office really supports us. But the community also, the Bob and Renee Parsons Foundation, the Thunderbirds, the Board of Visitors, Dignity, all Banner University Health Plan, Mercy Care, Access, all we write grants galore. Really trying to get to the point that we're sustainable, that we would be able to go, okay, here's Hushabye in a box. This is how you do it. But we're working with Access and ADHS right now to figure out how do we make it that reimbursement rate isn't a reimbursement rate of an adult detox, but a reimbursement rate for a pediatric recovery center at a more appropriate amount that would make us to be able to continue doing what we're doing.
Tara, does that require a change in legislation?
It might. We're trying to not have to do that. We're really trying to see if there's some nuances with licensure that maybe they can make an addendum, but that's, again, getting everybody in the same room and going, everyone sees our data, and our data is kind of hard to believe that it's so good. And so they do listen, but again, never been done anywhere. And what does it take to make it that we are around next year?
And when you say data, you're saying data that proves that this program and this level of care and the way in which you do it works.
Yes.
I mean, you said 99% satisfaction.
Yeah, 99% satisfaction rate. Yeah. And I'll just brag a little bit about our data.
That's what you're here to do.
So our data for a baby nationally in research says that babies right now are 22 days in the neonatal intensive care unit.
Okay.
We're 9. Quiet, dark environment, one-to-one caregivers, inviting families in. Babies withdraw easier with their parents. So 9 days compared to 22. Families get connected with us prenatally, and they start working with us. We're getting them well. We're getting them stable on those medications for opiate use disorder. 77% of those families are taking their babies home safely. We are keeping them out of foster care because if they get connected with us prenatally, wow, we're changing that whole trajectory. Yep. In the hospital, I do not have the data of how many of our babies go home to their biological parents. Cannot find that data. But when I ask anecdotally my peers, many say less than 25%, but most are like, 50% or less. So we have changed that.
Completely.
Yes. And what that makes it is, 15, 16 years down the road, we don't have a baby having another baby with substance use disorder. When, we're breaking that generational trauma. When you look at the cost of Hushabye, and I said 95% or more are on Medicaid or access, we're a third of the cost of the neonatal intensive care unit. So we're at about $12,000 a stay, if it's a 9-day stay, compared to the hospital. In research, it says $40,000 to $60,000 a stay. And we're paying for that as community members. Our taxes go to that. So if we just look at the money, you go, okay, this is no brainer. But if we look at even further community impact of getting families well so that they're not in and out of the ER, they're not, in and out of jail, they're being able to parent. I don't even know what that number is.
Cutting the generational legacy that might be around addiction.
Absolutely.
Wow, on and on and on.
Uh-huh.
And not to mention gainful employment and being able to give back. You mentioned several parents who are now working for you, and what an impact. Our stories matter, right?
Yeah.
That when someone can say, wow, this organization or this group of people helped me get clean or achieve a new goal. And for that person to see how wonderful it is to then be inspired to carry on a mission and have purpose and passion like yourself, right? Mm-hmm. Then we all start moving in that direction. Incredible. And your numbers are incredible. So what can businesses do to support the work that you're doing? What do you need from us as local business owners? Where does the list start?
Well, funding, we were talking about funding.
Yeah.
So if you have any employee matching, if we could just be on the list, or if we could come and talk to your employees and tell them about our organization, just sharing our mission with one person, because one person's going to hear about what they listened to today, and they're going to tell someone, and probably next week that someone's going to have a granddaughter that they find out is pregnant. I mean, we had a CEO a couple of weeks ago come and tour. We had already had their marketing people come, and we're like, weird that he wants to come tour. And when he came to tour, he's very quiet and comes back out and gets a little emotional. And he's like, I needed to come and see where my niece got well.
Oh.
And it was like, okay. So that's our biggie there. We're always looking for more community partners. So anything, jobs for our families, anything a service that you can have, please reach out. Mm-hmm. And I am sure I have a family that could use something. Having a connection, say, I had a mom recently that she came to go to a group. She went outside and her tire was flat. And she didn't have money to be able to get a new tire. It was the donut. She already had that on there. I was like, oh, okay. And we ended up, reaching out to Mother's Grace, which is another nonprofit. And I was like, can you pay for that tire? So other organizations just reach out and let us know what you do, because I never know when I'm going to need something. That for whoever we got to fix the tire, that was nothing, but it was everything to this mom to not have to ride the bus with her baby going to and from trying to get into recovery, and a simple tire.
Yeah.
So,
Additional shout out to Mother's Grace. So the experience that I shared with my husband was right before the pandemic. So not too long ago, within the last, 5-6 years. And Mother's Grace reached out and said, how can we help? And they, I believe they helped me with my mortgage in the middle of all that. And at the time I owned this business and was running Business RadioX and was very vocal about what we were going through as a family because other people need to know that mental health and or addiction is real, and there's no discernment when it comes to mental health and addiction as far as socioeconomic level or anything like that. As you mentioned, this CEO walking through Hushabye Nursery and saying he needed to see where his, you said niece, was able.
And he said it, and he's got well, and we were like,
right.
So we had some kind of a hard week, and then my community outreach person sent that an email. She goes, I think you needed to hear this. And I was like, I did need to hear that. I was like, oh my goodness, we're doing good work, everybody. Doing really good work. But, sometimes it's hard. And that was a win. That was a win. I mean, obviously it was a win for mom and baby, but it was also a win for them to then open up to the family. And he was like, I didn't even know that she was struggling.
Well, right, because that goes back to, again, this shame and this hidden conversation. So many people don't speak of or speak to what's going on inside families because of the stigma. Yeah. And fascinating. I am so thrilled to get to have this opportunity to learn about you and, more importantly, find out how businesses like myself can help. And so, I'm hearing community partnership, donations, direct involvement. Just call and say, hey, tell me more about Hushabye Nursery.
Come tour.
Yeah, come tour.
Yeah. We're doing a diaper drive right now.
Okay, very good. A diaper drive.
I heard that we were spending more buying more diapers. I'm like, why are we buying diapers? Let's ask the community to do diaper drive. So we're doing a diaper drive, trying to get 100 boxes of diapers. Okay. So, I mean, that's simple, easy.
Well, easy. And even when the drive is over, you're still going to need diapers.
Oh, so, always.
Okay,
always.
Good. Tell me about you are a 501c3.
Correct.
And again, tell me, I'm sorry, how long you guys have been in operation?
We opened November 2020. Mid-pandemic, and we've served almost 830 babies to date. We're working with 164 pregnant moms right now.
I'm just overwhelmed, and I'm not on camera today, but I can't tell you how many times I've been on the verge of tears and have had goosebumps running all the way up to the top of my head. I really am inspired by the work you do, and it's so needed. And you're going to change the way we serve families who are in need like this, and it's just incredibly impressive. And of course, the need is so great. And from what I've seen and I've read, the need is only going to get greater.
I know. It is.
Right? And it's not just Metro Phoenix. It's, as you said, Arizona, all across of our country.
Correct.
And they're, So for our listeners and our viewers, would love to see you get involved in any way, shape, or form. You also spoke to grant writing. So for our listeners and viewers, get creative in your thinking. You may or may not be a business owner. However, who do you know that could come in and support in a different way? All it takes is the introduction, the education, and the awareness. You had said it yourself, just one person, tell one person, and always keep this in the back of your mind as you're out there doing the good work that you do in the areas that you do it. What would you say, Tara, is the biggest misconception about the work that you guys do? What don't we know, or what do people get wrong?
That the parents don't want it. That they don't want it.
Well, you had kind of said, even from your own experience, that you had a misguided perception that if the parents wanted to do better, they would. Well, when you're an addict, all that common sense, I'm putting air quotes up, is no longer accessible.
Yeah.
For the period of time that you're in active addiction. But with the right tool set, right?
Yeah.
And the right opportunity, that energy can be redirected.
It absolutely can. And it can be like just a miscommunication, a misunderstanding. I had a baby that we were trying to get to Hushabye from a hospital, and there's misunderstanding that mom wasn't present at the bedside and hadn't been, so they didn't think that that baby needed to come to Hushabye because mom wasn't engaged, and they do the exact same thing that we do in the hospital. I'm like, okay, I need you to come visit because you'll see that it's different, but that mom thought she was told she could not visit. And so when I called the mom, she's like, I thought I couldn't visit. And it was all just a miscommunication. And so she went, and the team at the hospital got to see that she does want it. She absolutely wants it. She thought she couldn't be
and it
there.
was not allowed.
And it was all a miscommunication of us thinking that, they're not in it. And I don't know a mom ever that has ever carried a baby that isn't in it. I mean, we may not be in it because of trauma and being able to tune stuff out and go, I'm not really pregnant. I'm not really pregnant. I'm not really pregnant. But deep down, you have a baby, and they really do want a parent. I haven't met a mom that doesn't love her baby. I've met moms that are really unwell that aren't able to do it yet, but they love their babies.
And with the right care, the right environment, the right support, the education, the work around trauma and through trauma.
I see them heal.
Of course.
And they come and work for Hushabye.
And in record time.
Yeah, they do. Wow. They really do.
Wow. All right. So Hushabye Nursery, Tara Sundem, where do we find you guys? You're on McDowell?
Yeah, 30th Street, McDowell.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you mentioned, an invitation to come do a tour. Are there regular tour times, or how does that?
Just reach out, hushabyenursery.org. You can put it there. Otherwise, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn, Tara Sundem on LinkedIn. We're also Hushabye's on LinkedIn. Also, we're on all of the social medias. But yeah, just reach out to us. My main job is pretty much tours and explaining what we're doing and helping. Seeing truly is believing.
Yes.
And so many people go, how many people can you have at a tour? I'm like, oh, we've had, 10, 20. I want you to come in and see it.
Yeah.
Because that really is how we're making such an impact.
Yep. On LinkedIn, both Tara Sundem and Hushabye Nursery, and then also on Facebook, you mentioned all the social media, Instagram. So even for our listeners and viewers, if you are at the point where you don't think that you can do anything else beyond just spread the word, go follow.
Yeah, follow and like, and I can guarantee every day it's going to fill your cup because it's cute.
And then,
They're cute.
Oh, and then the next thing is to share, right? So it's one thing to follow and to be inspired and excited about the health and the wellness of these babies and the families. And then it also would be great to share and just say a little something about what it does for you when you see this happening. And again, to your point, you never know who you're going to, share and the difference that they can make. So,
absolutely.
Oh my goodness. So excited to get to know you better, and I have some introductions that I'd like to help make for you. With your governing board, are you like what other hands on decks do you need? I mean, you need ideas for grants and likely some introductions to legislatures if it gets to that point.
Yeah.
Businesses to support. Is your board also growing, and what do you need?
My board. My board members initially were all working board. I'm using them for everything. And now we're transitioning to over governing board. And so if there's anyone that's possibly interested in becoming a board member, probably in the next 6-ish months, we're looking at a few of our members are going, I've been helping for a long time, and they'll continue being our biggest our biggest cheerleaders. But we'll probably have those coming up, I would say, Q4 this year.
Stay plugged in. Yeah. I'm on the board for Treasures for Teachers, have been for over 8 years. We've gone from a working board to now more of a governing board. Yeah. So I'm in the trenches. I know it. And when we look for board members at that level, we're looking for some specific niches to be filled. Are there any specific, like when again, this is a little ways off, but who would you love to have on the board? Is there anybody in particular?
Yeah, well, we just did, our board survey, and what are we missing? Website marketing, grants was one of the least known, and then political.
Okay.
That's kind of what we were looking at.
Yep. Great summary for everything that we've discussed. The need is there. Yeah. The solution is here. It's present.
Totally.
The gold standard of care is here. Yes. Now it's just how to help others duplicate it in a manner that really maintains that gold standard of care,
Yes.
and educate folks, because the answer is sitting right here.
Yeah. Two other things that I could use.
Please.
We're having our second annual event in October 26th, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star at Weston Kierland. It will be really cute. Not dressy. So if you just want to come and support a good cause, we would love you. And if anyone has an auction item idea, I would love that so that we can raise a little bit more money.
Excellent.
That'd be great.
So good. Tara, it's a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you.
Thank you for spending part of your day with us today and for being flexible on the time.
Absolutely.
Since I kind of goofed up. You've been listening to Phoenix Business Radio, broadcasting live from the Max 6 Entrepreneurial Center right here in Tempe, Arizona. Some media leans left, some lean right, and we lean family wellness. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.